Greetings, my dear viewers. It is I, Drayhon, and welcome back to Pathfinder Hero Flux. That is Flux, short for fluctuation. And today we are taking a look at the protagonist of the Doom franchise, known only as the Doom Slayer, or Doom Guy, or Demon's Bane. Either way, he is the main protagonist of the Doom franchise, and I decided I needed to take a closer look at Doom Guy this time around, and do a little more in-depth research on him than I did in my character conversion over in Dungeons & Dragons. And I found something rather interesting. According to the wiki, the Doomslayer is the great-grandson of William Joseph Blazkowicz, the protagonist of Wolfenstein. So we have a family that went from killing Nazis to killing demons. These guys have been very busy. And, I might need to take a look at the Wolfenstein franchise now that I know that there is a relationship between these two characters. And see if I can create these names are hard to pronounce. We'll just call him William. I'm going to need to take a closer look at William later on to see if I can make a conversion out of him solely for Pathfinder. That's right, I said solely. That is because we are actually going to be using some Starfinder material for this build. Simply because the Doom franchise is mostly set on a spaceship or is set on Mars, which happens to be a gate to hell. I don't have the whole entire franchise in my systems yet. I am still trying to get through Doom Eternal. I finally got past a very tricky section in the very first chapter. Yeah, this game's a little harder than I had realized. Anyway, enough about my poor skills as a gamer. Let's talk about stats. Starting things off with our starting stats, we are going to be giving the Doomslayer a 12 in strength, dexterity, constitution, and charisma. He is going to be a human with the heritage of versatile human. This is going to increase our strength and dexterity each by 2, and give us 8 hit points, a size of medium, a 25-foot movement speed, the language common, and we also get an ancestry feat in Devil's Advocate. And we are also going to get access to the feat of Incredible Initiative. Next is our background in Demon Slayer. We could also go with the trooper background found in the playtest rulebook of Starfinder, since the Doomslayer is in fact a soldier. He is a Marine, to be more specific. But I wanted to go with the Demon Slayer simply because of what he does throughout the entirety of the franchise. He hunts down and kills demons. A bunch of Pathfinder players would probably argue that some of the demons found in the Doom franchise are very similar to daemons in Pathfinder 2nd Edition. But we are going with what we have available to us, and that is the background of the Demon Slayer, which I have to point out, according to this note here, you can only have access to this background if you have at least 5 first edition scenarios from Season 5 of the Pathfinder Society Organized Play campaign. But that is if you are using this in a professional setting. If you are using it at your own game table, it is perfectly fine. With the background of Demon Slayer, you are going to be increasing your strength and constitution each by 2. You're going to be trained in religion and demon lore. If you want to change this to Daemon lore, go right ahead. But you also get access to the free feat of Recognize spell. Other backgrounds that would probably fit instead of the Demon Slayer and the Trooper would be the Scion of Slayers and the Sword Scion for the same reasons. Now, Scion of Slayers does give you undead lore, while the Sword Scion gives you access to warfare lore, much like the Trooper background. Don't worry, we will be getting access to warfare lore if we go with the Demon Slayer background, but for the purposes of this build, we are going by Demon Slayer. If you go by Sword Scion or even the Scion of Slayers or the Trooper, you will be switching out the specifics of a feat we will be choosing to fit the change in background. Now, let's go ahead and continue with our class. Starfinder's playtest material has the Soldier background, which works perfectly for a Marine like the Doom Slayer. Now, I'm going to have to say that the Soldier background seems to have very similar features to the Barbarian and the Gunslinger classes in Pathfinder 2nd Edition. So if you wanted to, you can go ahead and switch out the Soldier class for the Barbarian class. I would recommend taking up the subclass of Fury, since we have a special feature of the Doomslayer where he goes into a Berserker Rage. But I wanted to go with the Pathfinder playtest, well, Starfinder playtest of the Soldier just because it sounds cool. And I like some of the feats in here. For the Soldier, we have an increase to our Constitution by 2. We have hit points equal to 10 plus our Constitution modifier plus what we got from our race. We are trained in Perception. We are trained in Reflex saving throws and are an expert in Fortitude and Will. For our skills, we are trained in Intimidation, Athletics, Society, and Survival. We are trained in Simple, Martial, and Unarmed Attacks. We are also trained in all armor and unarmored defense. We have access to Suppressing Fire, Primary Target, our Soldier fighting style, which I decided to go with Close Quarters. While you still have the necessary training to employ heavy weapons, you've learned that it's important to keep a backup for when foes get too close. You may be a skilled Vescarium trooper who knows their way around Doshko, or a devotee of Zon Shellen, who brings holy wrath with a pain glaive. Blows with heavy close combat weapons punish your foes just as effectively as when you fire a roto laser or a missile launcher. When you successfully make a strike with a two-handed melee weapon, let's say with a chainsaw, you suppress the target until the start of your next turn. In addition, you gain the Punitive Strike reaction. A creature within your reach uses a Manipulate action, uses a Range Strike, uses a Move action, or leaves a square during a move action it's using. Your foe's momentary lapse in defense gives you an opening. Ignore the unwieldy trait of your weapon when using this action and make a melee strike against the triggering creature. If your attack hits, the target is suppressed, and if the trigger was a move action, you disrupt that action. This strike doesn't count toward your multiple attack penalty, and your multiple attack penalty doesn't apply to this strike. You also get access to Walking Armory and the class feat of Ready Reload. Reloading a weapon can be a delicate process, but you've mastered how to do so in the middle of combat, beginning the process while still in the act of firing your weapon. You interact to reload your weapon, reducing its reload cost by 1. Unlike most interact actions, you don't need a free hand to reload your ranged weapon in this way. Like I said, these feats are amazing, and we're going to be encountering more feats just as amazing as Ready Reload when we get further into this build. Now, I do want to point out that a lot of ranged weapons, simple or martial, are indeed firearms, or at least they would be classified as a firearm in Pathfinder 2nd Edition. So, in order to gain access to the weapons from Pathfinder 2nd Edition that we do not get in Starfinder 2nd Edition, we are going to need the class feat of Gunslinger Dedication when we go into 2nd level. For our Gunslinger Way, the Way of the Drifter works perfectly for the Doomslayer. We also get access to the trained skill of Acrobatics. For our skill feat, we are going with additional lore, which will give us access to Warfare lore. If we already have Warfare lore, such as with the Trooper background or the Sword Scion background, this is where we would get access to Demon lore, Devil lore, or Daemon lore, whichever one you decide to go with. Moving on to level 3. We are now experts in athletics. For our feat, we are going with weapon proficiency, getting our access to proficiency in an advanced weapon of our choice. I decided to go with the plasma cannon, or should I say, the BFG. And yes, these two bottom pictures are indeed from the 2 Doom movies that were released some time ago. I've watched both of them. They're really entertaining. I especially like the one where The Rock is in it. They make reference to his contract there at the end of the movie, and it was a hilarious joke. No more spoilers beyond that. I do recommend watching both of these movies, though not if you are of faint of heart. There are some good jump scares and some rather gory scenes in both of these films. Anyway, our plasma cannon. We also get access to fearsome bulwark and reflex expertise. Moving on to level 4, we're going with the skill feat of percussive maintenance, which reduces our glitching condition if our tech item has that condition. We have to make a DC 10 flat check in order to reduce it, but if we get a critical success on that check, it reduces the glitching condition by 2. Very useful, especially with some of these high-tech weapons. For our class feat, we are going to grab basic shooting, which will give us the Gunslinger feat of Munitions Crafter. If you have the Gunslinger class, you will always need access to Munitions Crafter. You also have Infused Regents and the free feat of Alchemical Crafting. Rather useful feats to have. Moving on to level 5. For our Ancestry feat, we get access to Haughty Obstinance. obstinacy. We also are experts in survival. We have perception expertise and soldier weapon expertise. Since we are level 5, let's go ahead and increase strength, dexterity, constitution, and wisdom each by 2. Moving on to level 6, we get access to the class feat of covering fire and the skill feat of intimidating shot. Again, really useful feats to have, especially intimidating shot. You attempt to demoralize a foe within your ranged weapon's range by firing it into the air using ammo equal to the weapon's expend. This check doesn't take a -4 circumstance penalty if the target doesn't share a language with you. So, a very nice feat indeed, and covering fire is just as nice. If you were to use one action for covering fire, you make a ranged strike attack against a target and select one ally within range of the same attack. If your strike hits your target, you deal no damage, but the targeted foe becomes suppressed and takes a -2 circumstance penalty on attacks made against your ally until the end of your next turn. If you use 2 actions, make an area fire and select an ally within the first range increment of your weapon. Your ally doesn't need to be inside the area of effect of your area fire. Any foes you suppress with your area fire take a -2 circumstance penalty on attacks made against your selected ally until the end of your next turn. You are covering your ally's 6, which is what you should be doing as a soldier. You technically don't really have allies in Doom, but you do have to protect the innocent. Whether that be the scientist that is next to you, or maybe a civilian, if they're already still alive. Moving on to level 7, we are masters in athletics. We're going to go with the feat of pick up the pace. We also get access to armor expertise, soldier expertise, tough as nails, and weapon specialization. Pick up the pace works excellently for any soldier, whether that be a Marine or a cadet in the US Forces. It just works. If you are traveling for a long period of time, which you do as the Slayer, you are going to want to pick up this feat. Moving on to level 8. Our class feat is Advanced Shooting, which will get the Gunslinger feat of Quick Draw, letting us interact with a weapon to draw it out and then strike with the same action. We are also going to get the skill feat of Powerful Leap. Level 9, we are experts in crafting, and we are going to get the Ancestry feat of Hardy Traveler. Again, you are traveling through the landscape. You are a soldier of war. While technically Doom Slayer was dishonorably discharged for attacking their sergeant, for what reason I forgot, he is still technically a soldier. So, this type of training is still going to be ingrained into him. Moving on to level 10, go ahead and increase your strength and constitution each by 1, while increasing your dexterity and wisdom each by 2. For your class feat, we are going with Concentrated Shot and the skill feat of Titan Wrestler. Have you seen the size of some of these demons that he manhandles before ripping their heads off or eyeballs out? They're big. Titan Wrestler makes perfect sense. If anything, this probably should have been his starting feat. Anywho, thanks to Concentrated Shot, we make a ranged strike against a target with our weapon, without using the area effect. we get a +4 circumstance bonus to damage on that strike. This bonus increases to a +6 at 11th level and +8 at 15th level. If making this strike with an automatic weapon, you consume ammo as though you used auto fire against 3 enemies. Level 11, we are experts in intimidation. We grab the feat of fleet. And we also get soldier's resolution. Moving on to level 12, go with the class feat of bullet hell. This is a 2-action feat. Make a area fire or auto fire with your weapon. Until the start of your next turn, any creature that moves through the area you attacked takes 1d4 damage of the same type as the weapon fired per square traversed, with a basic reflex save made at the end of each move action they make through the area. On a failure, they become suppressed until the start of your next turn. We are also grabbing the skill feat of Rapid Mantle. Rapid Mantle is a very useful skill within the Doom franchise. I have had to use this ability within the game a lot, especially when I missed that stupid ledge. Man, that was annoying. But anyway, moving on to level 13, we are experts in demon lore. We're going to grab the ancestry feat of stubborn persistence, and we are now master in armor. Moving on to level 14, we are going with the class feat of martial artist dedication with the skill feat of catfall. We punch and kick and headbutt a lot of demons. We're going to need this. And we're going to need a couple of feats from this dedication as well. Not a lot, but we are going to be using a couple. Moving on to level 15. Increase your strength, dexterity, and constitution each by 1, and increase your charisma by 2. We are masters in intimidation. We're going to grab the feat of Die Hard. We are also getting access to soldier mastery and unshakable juggernaut. Level 16, grab the class feat of grievous blow and the skill feat of assurance in athletics. At level 17, we are going with the expert skill in acrobatics. Our ancestry feat is going to be unconventional weaponry, with the weapon proficiency going into the bladed gauntlet, since we actually have one of those. We are also legendary in armor. Level 18, we get the class feat of echoing violence and the skill feat of wall jump. Level 19, we are legendary in athletics, and we are going to grab the feat of toughness. We are now a legendary soldier. And finally, at level 20, we are going to be trained in stealth. Since we now have a +1 in intelligence, we're going to grab the class feat of living typhoon and the skill feat of cloud jump. We are able to double jump in Doom. Very useful ability. For our ability score increases, increase your dexterity by 1. Your intelligence, wisdom, and charisma by 2. Thanks to Living Typhoon, your destructive power has become second nature as enemies stand in awe of your overwhelming firepower. You can use the area fire or auto fire attacks as a single action. However, you can never make more than 2 area fire or auto fire attacks in the same round, which is fine. We have other things we can do. After we suppress our enemy with our gunfire, we can go ahead and rip their head off. Fun stuff. Anyway, that is all for today's video. What do you think of the Doomslayer? And will you be using the Starfinder playtest material, or will you be sticking with Pathfinder? Let me know down in the comment section below which style you prefer. Pathfinder and Starfire are technically cross-compatible, so do be sure that you read the rules of compatibility when using any playtest material. And with that being said, that is all I have for today. I do hope that you enjoyed. This has been Drayhan, and I am offline.